efficient stuff. Absolutely marvellous. First round put away very nicely, 3-2-2. Not a problem against Mark Goldner. Paul Goldstein is a young man out of Stanford University. He took a set off Pete Sampras. That's a good effort. Goldstein is one to watch in the future, but not at this US Open. Sampras was into round 3 and just beginning to get the engine purring into, well, probably third or fourth gear. Now, Michael Teelstrom made a big mistake against Pete Sampras. He went in against the slugger and tried to slug. And by the time it was all over, it was like a punch-drunk Swede down the other end. And this one was very straightforward. Game plan not so good from Teelstrom, but Sampras way too good against him. 6-2, 6-3, 6-1, so just 6 games dropped there. Now, the last 16, round 4, we saw Sampras against Marat Safin, 18-year-old who'd beaten Gustavo Kuerten and Andre Agassi as a qualifier at the French Open. But Sampras said, no, you're 18, you're no good yet, I'm going to sort you out. And that's exactly what he did. 6-4, 6-3, 6-2. Sometimes one wonders if Pete reacts badly when people say this is a matchup of the future against the present. No, Pete's much better than Marat Safin. Quarter-final now against Carol Kuchera. Sampras and America were expecting a Sampras-Agassi quarter-final, but it wasn't to be. Kuchera beat Agassi on merit in 5 sets. He'd beaten Sampras at the Australian Open. That's what it means to him. Thank you. Through once again. And Carol Kuchera was the highest-ranked man that Pete Sampras has beaten in 1998, which seems a little bit surprising considering he won Wimbledon and, well, he's the world #1 still. 6-3, 7-5, 6-4. That point to be discussed with Mark Petchey in a few moments. But what about Pat Rafter? Pat Rafter has come in after Wimbledon and he's only lost a couple of matches on the hard courts of North America this summer. Now, he had an absolute horror as defending champion. To come out against the talented Moroccan Hicham Arazi was always going to be a test. Now, Arazi won the first 2 sets, 4-4. But then Rafter put his foot down. It was an impressive performance. It took a lot out of him. He was nervous going onto the court as defending champion. 4-6, 4-6, 3-3 and 1 the score. Pat Rafter through. And embarrassment avoided. In the second round, he played Hernan Gumi of Argentina. Score 6-4, 6-1, 6-2 there. And it is a question of relief when you get through those first rounds. Qualifier David Nenkin was third for him, third round effort. Now, Nenkin was a qualifier and played an awful lot of tennis. And then you see Pat Rafter down the other end being an athlete. Not easy. This is a wonderful performance. He dropped 3 games against a quality player. This is not the first round of a satellite somewhere. This is the 3rd round of a slam. Nenkin could hardly move at the end. It's been a long tournament for him already. Big match-up in the last 16 against Goran Ivanisevic. Now, Pat had been describing how Goran was the dark horse for this US Open. Described how he respected the man. But Ivanisevic destined not to be a factor at the latter stages of this US Open. His best remains a 96 semi-final. It took Pat Rafter 4 sets. He recovered beautifully from losing the 3rd, 6-4. Now, I don't think I've seen too much tennis, the like of which Pat Rafter played against Jonas Bjorkman. The conditions were windy, but no problems at all. Absolutely phenomenal performance. 3 straight sets against Bjorkman, the 12th seed, 2, 3 and 5. He'd lost to Bjorkman before, but he repelled the Bjorkman returns. They played doubles together as well, actually, so it's horrible losing your doubles partner. Bad luck, Jonas. Semi-finalist last year and a quarter-finalist this year. Now, of course, Pat Rafter has defeated Pete Sampras recently. It was in the final of Cincinnati. He was asked in a press conference whether or not that victory had any bearing on this semi-final tonight.
It definitely does help for me to know that I have beaten him recently, and I won't go on the court feeling as intimidated as I had before, you know, but I'm still going to be very intimidated, you know. He's that sort of player. He's a very good player, but he'll be nothing like what I felt before. You look at each match and each player, and they all have their, their strengths, and Rafter, beating me a couple weeks ago in Cincinnati in a tough loss, winning here last year, I mean, he's kind of the man to beat, and he's played very well. I mean, he's pretty much breezed through this tournament. Our games are very similar. It's just a matter on the return to serve. If I can return well, make him volley, hopefully the course of a 3 out of 5 set match, I can wear him down. But
he's a great mover, a great athlete, and certainly he's one of the best volleyers we have in the game. But I don't look at it as revenge by any means. Just look at the opponent and try to figure it out how I'm going to beat him.
If I'm playing well, then I can compete with all the guys. So, and that's very rewarding for me to see that. Before, when I thought I was playing pretty well and going out and I was losing, and I thought, oh, gee, you know, I thought I was playing well. And they just showed me how bad, you know, all my weaknesses. But against Pete, I was playing well, and I ended up winning that match. So it's a good feeling to know that I can do it.
Of course I want it. That you know, I put so much emphasis on the majors, and I'm certainly in a good position. I've gotten through my first 5 matches pretty handily, and you know, and I've played a tough opponent on Saturday.
Jump right out of the gym. He does this to please the crowd. Just working away from the back of the court. Right, time to get in with the forehand. Here I come. Yes! I love it! Sampras can do this. It is so hard to do. You can put your elbow right out if you do this, and the shoulder to follow swiftly afterwards. Here he goes. Ooh, sweet. Look at this, Annabelle. What do you say?
Pretty awesome, Andrew, I have to say.
It's a crowd pleaser.
Awesome shot.
It's worth doing as well, because the opposition suddenly get to feel like, I can't beat this guy. It's very effective.
It's his favourite shot, isn't it? He loves it, as you say, to please the crowds.
It's a beautiful match I'm expecting tonight. It's rather like when Edberg used to play Sampras, rafter against Sampras. I expect a very stylish contest this evening, Paige.
Well, they're both sort of players from yesteryear, aren't they, really? I mean...
Yesteryear with incredible power.
Yes, yeah, no question about it. I mean, they are obviously hitting the ball a lot harder now. Although Pat doesn't hit the ball that hard. I mean, I think Pete does. He has a lot of weight to shot. But Pat doesn't hit... But what he does on the court and his court coverage is his asset. I mean, Pat Rafter, he's 6-0 against going into top 10 players this year. I mean, and Pete Sampras has not had a fantastic year in that department. So it is a nice matchup, but... And you know what's going to expect. It's just a question of who wins the big points. That's what it always comes down to.
You know, one shot that I think Georgia and Sam never watch. They get too nervous. I mean, if they get nervous watching Pete Sampras play, even though he is their son, well, I don't know what he would do with everyone else in the draw, because he is by far the world's best player. If there is going to be a rivalry, Annabelle, to rival the Agassi-Sampras thing of a couple of years ago, I think it could be Sampras against Rafter. It's certainly a captivating kind of duel. The characters you can understand.
No question. I think it already is. As you've been saying, Rafter's had the most fantastic run coming into this tournament.
Rather like Lindsay Davenport.
It is. It's very, very similar to Lindsay Davenport, and I think that his fitness and his athleticism is just unbelievable. And we've been talking about arguably, you know, perhaps the best volleyer in the game.
Oh, I think no doubt. I mean, Sampras volleys well because he moves well. Rafter volleys well because his technique is absolutely beautiful.
What I think I like about Sampras, though, is the cool head on him and the brain, the way he will take a match like this. He really loves this kind of pressure, you know, competitive situation.
Normally, if he has a bad match, Sampras, it's a little bit earlier on in the tournament, and by this stage, with the atmosphere building like this, I don't expect Sampras to have a bad one. See, Pat now lives in Bermuda. Went there after Wimbledon and chilled out for a while, and came out absolutely on fire. Winner at Mercedes Super 9s back-to-back in Toronto, where he beat Philippoussis, Bjorkman, Henman and Krajicek, and then in Cincinnati, where he had that victory over Sampras. But Wayne
Let's get Mike Morrissey in.
He's one of the finest umpires there is out there, I must say, about Wayne McHugh. And well, look, pick a winner real quick.
Okay, Pete Sampras.
Thank you.
I'm going for Pete Sampras as well.
I think we have to go with Pete Sampras as well. The defending champion against the #1 seed. It's got it all. Settle down and enjoy a beautiful tennis match. Wally Mazur and Bill Threlfall are in their chairs and ready to go. And I'll say good evening to you, Bill.
Hello, it's good afternoon from us and good evening to you, Andrew, and all your splendid team there. And to say we're looking forward to this is just a masterly understatement. Quite often, of course, you get the perfect lineup, and I think we've got it out in front of us right now. And that lineup doesn't quite live up to its expectations because one player doesn't perform at his best and the other one just runs the rod over him. But I can't see either of these guys giving up or giving in or making it easy for the opponent. Of course, I'm sitting alongside Wally Mazur, so while I'm going to be totally unbiased, he is only going to try and be totally unbiased. But honestly now, Wally, honestly, what do you think about this match?
Well, unfortunately, I've just received some information that is changing my mind. I said earlier this morning, I went on record as saying that if Rafter can serve as he did against Ivanisevic and Bjorkman, he was up around 70% for both of those matches. The rest of his game is on song. If he can get that high first serve percentage, I really think he can win this match. I know Pete is a great server, but I just think Pat has an ability to jag a few returns, play some unusual type of tennis, bunt a few back, get in after them, and maybe just upset the rhythm of Pete Sampras, keep a lot of balls in play. And if he can just hang on to that serve, I think he can get through the match. But as the week has progressed, he's been struggling a little bit with a knee injury. We saw it against Bjorkman. He clutched at the left knee. He basically jarred his knee. He didn't serve and volley for a couple of points. He ran through it and got out of the match okay. But he's been hitting with Tony Roach over the last few days, getting ready for this match, and he has had a little bit of knee soreness. I just hope that doesn't become an influence or a factor in this match.
Ladies and gentlemen, this match will be the best of 5 tiebreak
Well, you bet.
Pat Rafter won the toss and chose to serve.
All I can say is we have two magnificent tennis players out here. Let's hope they produce the match that they should. It's Rafter to start.
Not a bad way to open your account. Hitting the ball sweetly on return. And once he gets anything mid-court on that forehand, very dangerous indeed.
Love 13. Oh! 15-13.
Same height, these two men, 6'1". Sampras 2 years older, 27. It's a beautiful serve and volley.
Well, we talk a lot about the quality of the serves on the men's tour these days, and if you really want to judge a great serve, you've got to look at the second serve, and that's one of the reasons Rafter is so good. Particularly heavy, close to the lines, enables him to get in quickly.
Oh, great smash from behind the baseline.
40-13. Game Rafter.
Very good game from Love 30.
Sorry, now, thanks.
It's interesting that Patrick Rafter, he just has not lost this year, 98, to any player in the top 10. I mean, that is some record. He's played a few as well. So if he does lose to Sampras, Sampras will be the first man in the top 10 in the world to beat him this year. That's an indication of the sort of form since Wimbledon that this man has had.
Well, in the preview, that is in fact Pat's girlfriend Lara with a head turned. She's quite an attractive young lady if she turns around. There's Tony Roach, closest to the screen. There's a bald man getting in the way of everybody.